Welcome to the STR Data Lab.
Hello and welcome to the STR Data Lab. I'm Jamie Lane, Chief Economist at AirDNA, and I'm joined today by Brittany Madzig, the founder of Mom Mama Cabins. Brittany, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so and we were talking just before we hit record. I went through a deep dive on your social, which is extensive.
That's a great way to put it.
I was already following you before this sort of interview got set up, but it was amazing to see, one, how you've built such a great following, and two, how you've really built that following to drive incremental bookings to your properties. And I think a lot of people feel like they should, when they buy their short-term rental, they need to create a direct booking website. They need to create an Instagram account. And then they oh, I should post my photos that my professional photographer gave me. And that's going to drive all these bookings. And then they do it and they get their family to follow them and maybe some friends. And then they're like, why am I doing this? All that, maybe I'm hoping that they just start with a bit of a background of how you got started in the short-term rental space, and then we'll dive into all the great stuff you're doing on social.
Yeah, thanks. So my husband and I bought a cabin in 2020 during COVID when interest rates were super low. And though we saw the world stop and a lot of people put their houses, especially in the Smokies, their cabins on the market because they didn't know what was going to happen. But because I grew up going to the Smokies, I'm telling you, that was our Disney World. A lot of people also go to the beach in Myrtle Beach and they travel to Florida from Michigan, where I am. We always just went to the Smokies. My family grew up there. And even I took my husband there on our first, I think, so we got engaged there. And so that was our first trip together. I got engaged in Cades Cove, one of the biggest,
Yeah, I know it so well. My wife is from Knoxville, so she grew up going to Cades Cove and all those areas, and I grew up in Atlanta, and we go up hiking in the Smokies all the time. So love the Smokies.
Yes. So when COVID happened, even though everything was shut down, it's I know this area and it's not going anywhere. But I feel like a lot of the owners of the cabins, a lot of them don't live in the area. And those who do didn't put their cabin up for sale, but those who didn't, for example, we bought ours from a family in Texas and they just didn't know what the future looked like. Anyway, so we ended up buying a cabin, hoping that the world was going to open up one day. And if it didn't, my husband's a realtor, so that helps. So we knew we had confidence. And if this doesn't work out, we can sell it. We can always sell it. So when we bought it, of course, it's this proud, I'm not even 30 yet. You share it on Facebook and everyone's super excited for you, kind of, because they're like, hey, it's COVID. What are you doing out of the state? I live in Michigan. But it's exciting and people are all like, we want to go there, and awesome. I felt like I was every 2 weeks, let's go to the Smokies, everybody, in Michigan. That was my only center of influence, my Facebook friends. And I felt myself, you can tell with engagement, the excitement goes down. People aren't really traveling. And I was like, you know what? I need to reach more people. And at the time, I was like, I hear on TikTok, you can reach a bunch of people, but just by really kind of doing nothing. But at the time, it was a dancing app to me. I was like, I have too much pride to go on this app. So I put it off for a while. I did have an Instagram. I would post, but like you said, it just doesn't get new reach like you would want it to. And I can talk about later, what does get reach and what makes people want to follow you, not just click like once, but wow, I want to see more and more of what this account has to offer. But I felt that way too when I would just post on Instagram. There was nothing making them come back if it wasn't just pretty Smoky Mountain pictures. So I made a TikTok account to post the footage that I had of the Smokies, or then it became trending sounds and I would apply it to a situation I had. And what people really loved at the time was hearing about Airbnb stories or guests. And then, of course, I can also share like how you have to tread lightly when it comes to actually sharing real life experiences because you want your audience to trust you. Like if something bad happens, you don't want to have people thinking like she's just going to talk about me. That has been a tension I feel like from my audience I can have when you share about how someone covers your cameras or leaves the place trash, but people just love those stories. So you really just have to be a good professional business owner at the end of the day to make sure you don't lose that part of business. So anyway, I got started on TikTok posting. They said, so I'm like, how can I grow this account? And I would follow so-called TikTok coaches, and they say 3 to 4 times a day. So it made me laugh when you said extensive because I haven't given that quantity up. And even though I still feel like people are like, you're annoying, I see too much Smokies content, it's like the proof is in the pudding. It's keeping my cabin booked. Now we have like a dozen cabins or resorts, or we're putting on a bed and breakfast on our website. People love the Smokies, and even though it doesn't appeal to some people, it's working. And so I always like to say I'm not going to fix what ain't broke, and so I'm just going to keep being consistent because that's just what's been working for us.
Yeah. So maybe get in a bit more on that. So going from just doing social around your own cabin, and then how did it evolve of like, did you guys buy more? Are you managing other people's? Are you just helping drive bookings? So how did it evolve of getting multiple cabins on your site?
Yeah, good question. So the better I got at social media, the more my cabin booked up. And right now we're slammed. Our one cabin is slammed until December. And that would kind of happen, especially in 2021, 2022, when travel rates were really high. I say me, and I would just vent to my husband, just saying like, hey, our cabin's booked. But I have always loved social media. That was my creative outlet. So if the cabin was booked, there was no incentive for me to make content. And I wanted that incentive, but I couldn't be like, hey, come to my cabin in January, even though that's 5 months from now. So what I then wanted to do is a lot of owners started reaching out to me saying, hey, do you not just manage cabins, but do you promote other cabins? And I was like, no, not yet, but I can, and for maybe a price, because when I do something, it is 100%. I have to do it well, or, my reputation's on the line too. So I started this little side hustle of promoting other cabins. That was going very well until like I told you, my economist husband was like, so how are you going to scale this? How do you know? He's like, how do you know if you promote these cabins that it's your bookings and not just someone coming to their page? And you got to figure that out. You got to take advantage of what you're doing for them. And also they want to know you're helping them. So it's like, what are you going to do? Just walk away and say good luck? And I'm like, oh my God, okay. I'll figure it out, which is so hard to figure out on your own because that takes a software developer to like get those analytics. And so when my cabin was booked, I started promoting other cabins. And then I realized this can stall. It can stall if I burn out on content. It can stall if owners are like, well, I'm not sure what's coming from you and what's not. The flat fee I was giving out, it's like, what, do they pay me again for another video? It just didn't seem like I was giving them what I could. So my friend Andrew, who I had met through TikTok, have known him for 3 years. And I didn't know this about him at the time, but I told him my vision because I knew he was into computers and he was a retired software developer. Didn't really know what that meant, but I knew he knew how to build websites and he was good with IT. So he had shared with me he had retired from working for the man who created Microsoft in one of his programs that is an everyday app. And I was like, you're kidding me. And I'm like, you want to work with little old me? And long story short, he's like, I'll be a 50-50 partner with you as we create this website. And so meeting him and helping me make my dream come true in dream come true in a sense of still having those Smoky Mountain roots and helping people along the way, doing what I love with my creative outlet and content creation. And we just launched for guests these past 2 weeks and gathering so many features on our website. And we're just in it, hopefully, for the long haul to do this.
That's awesome. And it's something that I feel like everyone knows they need a direct booking website. They need ways to sort of and drive those bookings. So, and when you look back or you look at your business, like, are you driving everything direct now, or do you use Airbnb, Verbo? Like, what is your booking mix?
Yeah. So right now for October, overall, we had in 2024 a 64% direct booking rate. So that would come through socials. Right now, it was 71% up until October of this year when everybody's searching for Smokies, and about 70% is from Airbnb. So I have Verbo, I have Airbnb, and I just have mamacabins.com. And then from the people who meet me on socials from Instagram and TikTok, I send them to Mama Cabins now. But I did have a hospitable direct booking website prior to that.
Okay. So like, I was just thinking about like Airbnb's co-hosting program, because there's all these things that they allow people to do on behalf of hosts. Like you can set up their listings, set their prices, do guest messaging, do interior design, the photography, but like they don't let you like sign up to drive their direct booking strategy of like, of course would like, I get into their own business of driving bookings, but it does sort of open up this idea around like content on social can absolutely drive bookings. We've seen what, and booking.com just launched a few months ago where they're actually paying content creators. I think it's like a 5% fee. And if you create content that then drives people to book, and you could do it for a hotel, you can do it for like anything. Like, is this something that you see could be an even bigger opportunity of your ability to drive bookings across any cabin in Gatlinburg, any cabin in the world? Like, where do you see this potential going? And especially if, and we go from a point where you have to click on your profile and get to a link tree and then get to your direct booking website, like having like that booking sort of integrated into the social media app and have it happen seamlessly seems like it could be a game changer for travel, social media creators. Like, it seems like that's where the world's going.
Yes, all of that. And we do find we get right now at mamacabins.com, we can see how close people are getting to the booking process and if they book or not. And right now, because I am a content creator, I do have partnerships with other affiliates in the hospitality industry. So it's like, how do I strategize this where I still have my duties to, showcase who my partners are as Mountain Mama, also have that link tree. But like you said, if the multiple clicking, how do I get to Mountain Mama's Cabins? Now I have to go through all these links that she's affiliated with. And it's like, so we have been creative how to do that also. To have it in Instagram or TikTok would literally be a game changer because, like you said, the main part is the reason why I think we have been so successful in driving direct bookings. There are 44,000 cabins in the Smoky Mountains. And anytime someone goes to book a cabin, if they're not even on social media, it is intimidating. It's overwhelming. They all look the same. No one really knows the exact areas. You're like, I'm just going to the Smokies. So I took that opportunity to be competitive and say, like, this is why you should choose my cabin. These are the local attractions in the area. This is why you should choose me as a host. So I could stand out with my competition. And once you build trust on social media, that is a game changer, and people want to choose you instead of just going to a big property management company or just these other websites that provide Smokies cabins. And if we had a direct, like, integrated with social media, that's just one more level of trust where I know I can go to it right away. Then going through all these links and making sure I know what I'm doing. So the quicker, the better always.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's sort of evolved over time, but can you give me a sense of like your type of content and what you see sort of drives the best sort of mix of like new people that are going to find you interesting and ongoing sort of followers that are going to and want to follow along with your story, and whether it's affiliates or and things that are actually going to drive bookings in your property, like how do you see that mix now and how has it evolved?
Yeah, at first I was very Smoky Mountain heavy. I realized you can even realize through your engagement. So when a video does really well on socials, sadly, it's probably because it's controversial or it's because there was a sad story associated or there's like a cliffhanger people want to come back to. And I have had all of those in different stages of my life, whether it's being a mother and I had taken to the internet in the survival of my son. He had a slide accident. He's great now, but people want to know how the outcome was. Or in the Smokies, when I had to kick a guest out because they unplugged all my cameras and my Wi-Fi, and I took it to the internet, and people want to know more. So I noticed, but also with a lot of engagement comes a lot of controversy too. So I feel like balancing and how you handle that as well. You're going to get more traffic, but you have to really be careful on how you proceed because if it is controversial, you can't be in the comments fighting with the people who comment. Like that I think is what people don't realize when they have videos that go viral. It's just like you leave other people commenting to themselves and just grab the popcorn because the more they comment, the more this video is getting shared. So, but my favorite content to post is just nice, fun, trending songs with footage I've taken in the Smokies when it hits right on beat and it's like my head moves a certain way and got like, the four step. And I'm like, this is just quality content right here. But I try to mix it up because there's only so much of that people can probably handle. Like there's just so many mom stories or so many Smoky Mountains things or talking about, our endeavors, my husband and I in real estate. So I saw this trend for Taylor Swift and I was like, this is really funny. It was a videographer pretending that he got a message from Taylor Swift to shoot her wedding. And I was like, this is quality content because it's obvious to me Taylor Swift is not reaching out for Mountain Mama's cabins for this no-name cabin in the Smoky Mountains, but it would be funny like to just insinuate she is. No one's going to believe this, right? So I asked Andrew, who's great at technology. I'm like, can you make this for me? Saying like, hey, we just got engaged. I'm Taylor Swift. I would love to stay at your cabins. And me like, so sorry, Taylor, we're booked till December. But the internet broke in so many different reasons. First, everyone's like, this is great marketing. Now I'm here about my Mama Cabins. How funny. Two, people are like, how dare you give out her privacy information? I'm like, oh gosh. Three, people are like, this is so distasteful. You're lying to us, which I think and then some of my family and friends, they were like, that is so cool. Like, I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, the fact you even think it's real is actually such a compliment because you think she would actually want to come with me. So, but that video got 13 million views and we got 20,000 new followers across our socials. And I feel like as a content creator, if you can really navigate with the best intentions, despite the outcome of videos, and also not necessarily hold on so tight to how your videos do on the algorithm, but keep posting every day, people just truly see the real you over time. And I think that's why a lot of people stop because they don't have a way to get those people back to their profile after these pretty pictures that they take of their cabins or posting about their listing. And you really just have to drive people to your socials and keep them there. You have to find a way to keep them there.
Yeah. So I know a lot of hosts that work with influencers in their own right to sort of drive bookings to their property. And you sort of flipped it on its head of like, you're the host and you're the influencer. So like, how does that sort of interaction work with guests? Like, are there a lot of guests that are like, oh, I'm at this like famous influencer's property and like they're trying to create their own content? Like, what has been the reaction been? Or because yes, you're the influencer, but you're also the host, and for a lot of these properties, you're the one that's going to be interacting with people, and like you're gonna if their toilets overflowing, you're like, let me get someone over there right away. Like, there's a intimacy there that is maybe different than other influencers.
Yes. So it's so funny. I've heard a variety of things because when I communicate with people that are direct, it is me. It's my personal number. And they're like, wait, am I talking to the mountain mama? I'm like, oh my God, call me Brittany. Like, but yes. um, I have found though, it's actually a benefit when people know it's me because like I said, I try to not have this culture where I'm constantly like talking poor, like it's not even like me to not be positive in general, but if I have this continued mindset of what I know some other Airbnb hosts do, they're constantly talking about their guest upon departure and look how my guest left the cabin. As sometimes it's not as poor as it could be. I just never want to leave my guests thinking it could be about them, but I have found to my advantage, I think people leave it nicer than what they might have because even if they don't talk to me one-on-one a ton over the course of their stay, they know who I am. So it's like I want to leave this because I feel like I know her. And so I think just the relationship piece and direct bookings is also why we don't have problems of cleanliness, like how people leave it or just all the Airbnb issues you see that people complain about. That just never happens with us. And when things go wrong, I take more of a pride in making it good for them because if I'm getting you here, you need to have the best experience. And I feel like more than ever, I'm over generous sometimes, or at least my husband says I am. But I just feel like you're going to take the chance on me. I'm going to make sure you have a great experience as well. And so it's worked both ways where I feel I work hard for them and they work hard for me too.
Yeah, that was going to actually be my follow-up question there of like things that you're doing to like make the guest experience a bit extra of knowing like, and they could just as easily have a viral post of like, look how crazy it is at Mountain Mamba cabins of like, do you feel that need to like, or do you do anything extra to like have those little touches for someone?
That's a great question. I think that you just unlocked my worst nightmare. If Mountain Mama is a sham, look at this place. That would be crazy. I haven't even thought of that. That's actually really scary. So sorry, can you repeat the second part of your question?
Yeah. And I'll preface it. I've had that nightmare too of like the chief economist of AirDNA, just like having this terrible property and like, there's all these problems. So like, I do try to go above and beyond on like the messaging, making sure people feel comfortable. Is there anything you do like that you feel like is a little bit extra and because maybe you want just that experience to be amazing for the guests?
Yeah, and I think it would be not necessarily from a hospitality point besides good communication, but I encourage them to tell me any flaws or any areas of growth they see within the cabin. So sometimes it feels uncomfortable when they're like, you see like sentences this long of everything that could be improved. But I think because we have that trust between us and I ask for it, I use that to my advantage so I can make sure the cabin is clean and up to date for the next guest. And anytime, there's always a sense of relief when you have a direct booking coming in because you have more of that nice candid banter. But when you have an Airbnb booking come in, it's just more of a stranger. You don't know how they're going to review you. Those reviews cannot be even compromised and they can be taken down. I don't even know if direct you can, but there's not as many outlets for them to leave a review. So it's more even like a breath of fresh air when it's direct because you can handle it as you want right away. But Airbnb, there's a little more that goes into that. So it's October is going to be full of Airbnb bookings for me. So I have to make sure I'm on top of my game.
Yeah. And then are there any advice that you have for hosts on like building trust and loyalty? Because obviously you've done that through your social media. A lot of people don't have that sort of huge following that you have. So is there anything else you've sort of found that has been good for building trust with guests and sort of help? And maybe it's like driving repeat bookings or and other things that have sort of helped your hosting business.
Yeah, I'd say the first part of that is when you want people to choose you over someone else, you kind of just have to address the elephant in the room. Sometimes I'll like make content videos on three things that you need to look for in your next Smoky Mountain cabin, or three things that when you're looking for a good Airbnb host. And I think those things bring trust with people. They're like, oh, she is providing that, or she's giving her insight on that. I can decide whether this aligns with me or not. So I think instead of if the content creator is just always posting about footage, that's one thing. But you want to create trust by some people also don't like being in front of the camera. So if you even have like blurbs or like little like words that come up or just like a paragraph of how you operate as a host, that's another way to create trust. And but I will say people always love associating a face to where they're staying because that increases the trust tenfold.
Yeah. I love how when we started, you sort of said how you sort of went down the rabbit hole of like TikTok influencers and like people that have like done it. They've built followings. They're teaching you how to like be better at your craft. If there's hosts listening today and our audience is, and more often than not, someone with 1, 2, 3 properties, they're getting going. They're wanting to figure out how to expand their business. Any advice you have on how to get just started with social media, and what would you suggest on those sort of first few posts and them getting going?
Yeah. Like I said, I if people are not comfortable in front of the camera, it truly just takes time. You will one day if you choose to put yourself in that uncomfortable situation. But if you're truly like, I am scared to death of doing this, I still think there's power on social media like I said, even making a carousel of photos of like a beautiful, say it's your cabin in the background and your the top 5 things to do when you come to our cabin in the Smoky Mountains, and people can scroll through that. And I think just consistently, and I always say this though, but consistently posting every single day. And it's beyond the post. It's getting comfortable with the editing tools. It's getting comfortable with how to word your captions. It's getting comfortable with how to use hashtags and collaborators and just getting comfortable with those apps because that I think is the biggest hang up is the time it takes to do all of those things. It used to take me an hour to post maybe a 17-second video of editing. And now a 17-second video I can get done in 5 minutes, including from front to back. So the more you do it, the less time it takes and the more content you'll be able to put out there. Because sometimes my husband would say this in the beginning stages, but he has seen it doesn't really work like that. Is he's always like, you need quality content over quantity. And I mean, this is debatable. In my opinion, everybody has a different version of quality. What might be quality to me might be different quality to you, but it's still content getting out there. And social media, first and foremost, you can get your education on Google Scholar or, everywhere else, but social media is typically entertainment. People want to be validated on social media. They want to be entertained. And if you can do either of those things through your posts or getting excitement out of them, that's quality. And I think more posting is better than not. A couple times a week, you'll always see more people with more growth if they're doing 5 times a week or something like that.
Yeah. So I can't let you get out of here, this being the STR Data Lab, and not talk a little bit about data. Uh, and I'm
My
sure
favorite.
social media tools, and they give all sorts of sort of insights into and what's getting watched and followers, all, and you're able to track bookings. Like I assuming now you've got some sort of measure of attribution, so and what's coming through your different channels. So the question is like, what are you measuring on a regular basis? And for you, ultimately, like what is success of what you're building?
Yeah. From the booking standpoint, I think success is occupancy rates. And a lot of people may say, I don't want to reduce my prices for occupancy. Being the husband to a real estate broker, your house or your cabin is only worth how much someone is willing to pay for it. And if you have an idea of what you feel, because it's based on emotion, how much cosmetic work did I put into it? You need to meet people where they're at to have a good, valuable price for them. And sometimes that means reducing your price a little bit. You want to do it where you're not getting a specific clientele where it's just like, or even comparable, of a 3-bedroom cabin. I don't want it to be a comparable to a 1-bedroom hotel. So let's increase the price a little bit. Let's not lose the integrity there. But I think occupancy trumps a lot of what people are worried about in longevity. So I track the success of our cabins with occupancy. And then from the social media side, you know, I'm I've been in this business long enough to not let views get me down or sad, but I do see what videos are performing the best and what do people in this era, as I mentioned, social media has changed so much, but in this era of social media, what do people want to see the most? And I try to strategize what do people want to see the most because I want more viewers to follow me to book the cabins. I now have a duty to all of my owners that I promised I would book for them because they're paying me a subscription fee. So it's like I have a duty to do in my competitive side. And also at the same time, I have to measure what's doing well and I have to pivot constantly.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And as you sort of look across your business today, whether it's both on the hosting side or on the content creator and sort of building this sort of this booking engine, what gets you most excited about where it's going to grow in the future? Like, do you want to work with your husband, build this sort of real estate empire of multiple listings, or like I've got enough properties, like let me lean into content and I'd love to just provide bookings to everyone else.
You have nailed the question that we still are wondering. So, it was always in the future. So my husband's a residential associate broker. So in our town, he has a team and, we just invested in that property in 2020 and we hadn't bought any additional properties, probably because he's like, this is not a good bang for our buck with the interest rates, we have the upper hand of knowledge for that, luckily. But I think ideally one day I would love to scale Mountain Mama's Cabins, having a team of influencers, being able to sell the cabins we have that business model of social media driving traffic for direct bookings to owners for hospitality, because I love the Smokies, I love the travel. And, I'm in the mix right now of getting my real estate license. And I think if I can be versatile on whether getting, licensed in Tennessee, being on the side of people buying these cabins and what makes them so special, I feel like I'm a good spokesperson in that regard. And also learning the compliance and the buying and selling, that would just be the cream of the crop. So doing that in Tennessee and in Michigan here, I'm connecting with people every day. And I think that would be the best of all worlds.
Well, that sounds pretty amazing. And if you ever expanded down into North Georgia, you've got a client with me.
Are you in Blue Ridge, by the way?
I'm on the other side of the state, near Helen. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it's an amazing market. It's very similar to the Smokies, but unfortunately, it doesn't have that major demand driver being like Gatlinburg, Dolly, Pigeon Forge, everything that Dolly Parton's built there. Like I feel like is a next level in terms of things that are driving demand, and then also, and you guys having a national park there. Like Smoky Mountain National Park is one of the most beautiful spots I think in the country, and to have that in your backyard is incredible.
Yeah, literally. And the fact you can drive down Pigeon Forge and you have buildings that are upside down. You have a Titanic ship in the center of the road. Like it's like Vegas for families.
Awesome. Well, Brittany, this has been a pleasure. If people want to find you, if they want to follow you, how would they do that?
Yeah, so if you go on socials, I'm Mountain Mama Cabins, and then if you want to book with us on our website with one of our, dozen cabins, it's mamacabins.com.
Awesome. Brittany, thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie, for having me today.